Hi, this is Pat Duckworth, the author of Hot Women Rock, How to Discover Your Midlife Entrepreneurial Mojo. And my guest today is a growth catalyst, and she's passionate about teaching women leaders and entrepreneurs to flourish in business by mastering their confidence and using powerful language for more sales and to grow their team. And it's all about having a sustainable business and having fun. Professionally, she's a speaker, a coach, a chartered HR consultant, a mentorship chair, as well as a best-selling author, a radio show host, a mother and a wife. And she's got over 25 years of experience in 8 high-growth startups, holding senior corporate roles of a founder, a VP, and an HR director. And she's also creating workplace cultures that support women's growth and advocate pay equality. So it's a really big welcome to Yvonne Silver. Hi, Yvonne. Talking to you today in Canada.
Yes, I'm in Calgary, Canada. Even though my British accent will come out through this call, I've actually lived here for about 35 years now.
Yvonne, tell us, how did you start out? What was the first thing you did after you left college?
Well, I was actually a rebel. So when I finished, when I was 16, I had no idea what I wanted to do in the world. And I certainly did not want to go back and spend another 2 or 4 years in school. So I opted to go out and experience work in the big wide world. And then I went back later, and I actually had less ambition then. I wanted to actually be a secretary. And I ended up landing a role, early roles that were in the administration area. It morphed into sales, because pretty much everybody in a life insurance company, no matter what your job is required at some point to be in a sales capacity. So I ended up doing that sales role. That led to another sales role. And I ended up coming to Canada with that company, which was actually selling educational products and being one of 3 people selected to come out on a work visa and work to hire and train sales reps. So my work was not specifically to do with women back then, but it was all about growing and expanding companies and doing that through having extremely successful sales conversations and not being afraid to actually, go to someone's door and that I didn't meet, or pick up the phone and call someone that I'd never met before and have an introductory conversation that led to having a relationship with them and supporting and serving them through sales. So it was a bit of a convoluted route.
That must have been a huge step for you, moving from the UK to Canada to do that job.
Well, I think sometimes in life we're pulled, either because we're running from something or running to something. And at that time, I was actually running from something. I had a boyfriend in England that had cheated on me. I didn't have a very close relationship with my family. So I really had nothing holding me in England. And when you're 23 and someone says, wow, I'll buy you a plane ticket to go work in a foreign country for 6 months. Wow, that's exciting. And certainly the culture is vastly different. And I remember waking up in the rented apartment where I was staying the first morning, turning on the TV and looking and saying, oh my goodness, they've got more than 3 channels. Oh my gosh, I'm up to 88 channels. Oh my goodness. It was quite a celebration to be expanding and traveling the world with someone else funding it. And I ended up traveling all over England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales with that company, and then coming to Canada, all over BC initially, because we landed in Vancouver. And then I met my now ex-husband when we were on a trip to Alberta, to Calgary, to check out and see if Calgary was a great place for a satellite office, which it actually was, because they're very focused on educational products in Calgary.
Excellent. So what was the next step after that?
So after that, I took that sales role. I loved it at the time, but when you fall in love, you don't necessarily want to be traveling all around the country. So I quit that and I went to work for an IT consulting firm, rapidly expanding. Started off in an administration role, as was my training, and very quickly realized that this company has 6 employees. They have a massive vision. They're right on the cusp when PCs were coming onto the desktop, and mainframe technology. Everyone was tired of waiting for the mainframe to, come back up again if you lost a whole afternoon's worth of work, if you remember those days. And it was a crazy expansion and growth time where they really needed someone to be looking at resumes on a daily basis to make sure that we interviewed the hot talent right away and didn't let them slip through our fingers. So I put my hand up and said, look, I'm seeing all the resumes, I'm opening the mail anyway. How about if I do some screening and just see, do they have our values before it wastes the time of the senior project managers? So that was my foothold into human resources. And because my role included accounting, and that's, I'm a people person, accounting is not something I enjoy, I leveraged that opportunity and expanded it and grew it. So eventually I was the HR director 15 years later, because if you bring in great talent, you have to also have leadership training, you have to have programs and practices in place to keep those people, to have them being engaged and working effectively. So it ended up being a human resources role. When that company got bought by a subsidiary of Bell Canada, I actually left because I liked that nimble environment of startup, did my own HR consulting for 5 years on employee engagement and attraction and retention and talent management, and then got enticed to go work for a global talent management firm working with Fortune 500 companies to talk to them about career transition or talent management solutions. And that led to me ultimately taking my executive coach certification, which has now been extremely valuable in the work I do today, because I've been out on my own for the past 10 years, focused predominantly on working with women leaders, women entrepreneurs who are visionary. They have a mission, they have a focus, they don't necessarily know exactly how they're going to get there. And I do a lot of work with women entrepreneurs, building their team, looking at getting real clarity around their vision, if they're rebranding. And sometimes it's about helping them figure out how to actually make the business work so it is fun and it is sustainable, or how to actually have a different culture within their corporation so that their department is really tapping into the skills and personality and leadership traits that that particular female leader is bringing. So really interesting work.
Yeah, how did you make that transition, or what brought about that transition from doing the corporate work into setting up your own business?
Well, as I mentioned, after I finished my HR 15-year HR stint, I really didn't want someone else controlling my career. So I chose at that point to do HR consulting. I had watched how my boss in the startup IT company had set it up and got things rolling. So that gave me some great clues. I've actually always been an entrepreneur though, Pat, because I started that at age 7. And back in England, I had an elderly lady on the next street from me who had injured her ankle and couldn't walk her dogs. And I'd seen her going past every day with her dogs, and I wondered what was happening. Is everything okay with the dog? So I sought her out and realized she had couldn't take her dog out with her ankle sore. So I offered to do it. And right away she came back and said, well, how much would you charge me to do that, dear? My first business was born and I was 7. So
there you are. You were a very early entrepreneur, but you didn't exploit it until much later. So you set up for yourself, and what were the challenges around that?
Well, the challenges were, at that point, I had just come out of an IT consulting firm, and so I had all of the resources at my fingertips. So it really was about learning how to work as an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, working predominantly from a home office, and being disciplined, being diligent, being mindful, being organized, so that all of those things that I had as a support structure in my days at Minerva Technology, that was the company, were things that I could bring into my business. So I could still operate efficiently as a consultant, even though a lot of the work I was doing was on site at the client's offices. I still need to be able to have my systems in place. And I learned pretty early on that you can either have employees in the business or you can have systems in the business. And I resisted the urge to put systems in place because I like to be nimble and creative. However, I did recognize eventually that it was something that my business really needed in order for me to be able to grow at the pace I wanted to grow. I needed to have repeatable systems in place, things that took care of themselves and were automated even before we had all this modern technology that's used for some of our entrepreneurial friends now with electronic tools and funnels on the internet. I mean, that wasn't as prevalent back then, but it was important to have systems. So you're not reinventing the wheel all the time.
Yeah. And how has your business evolved since you first set up?
Well, the first 5 years, my focus was really working with talent management and attraction retention and a variety of different sizes of organizations. So it gave me some really good clarity on which types of organizations I wanted to work with. And then I wasn't really looking for a full-time job, but it fell in my lap to go work for this global talent management organization as a director role that then I got promoted as a VP. And it was interesting because I learned a lot about the strategy and relationship building, and yet I was working with mostly big Fortune 500 companies, so everything took longer. So it really helped me to pay attention to those experiences and say, you know, who is my ideal client? Who do I love to work with? And mostly it's not massive organizations, it's organizations that want to be purposeful, want to make a difference, want to make an impact. And of late, it's social enterprises that I'm most attracted to working with, who are purposeful, they're mission inspired, and they're not solely worrying about profit. Yeah. So I digress a little. Did I answer your question?
You did, and I'm going to dig a little bit further in a moment. So this is Pat Duckworth, and today I'm talking to Yvonne Silver. So Yvonne, I think, you know, that this evolution fits in with your purpose. And can you tell us a bit about what you feel your purpose in life is now?
Well, it came in a download, actually, working with my coach. And I believe my purpose is that I am here to uplift the spirit of humanity, which sounds like this massive job. How I'm doing that, though, is working specifically with women to help elevate their confidence, and doing that through writing, through speaking, through mentorship programs, mentoring circles, and really helping women to experience success when it's supported, so that they're not feeling that they have to keep making the same, doing the same thing over and over again, and then wondering why they're not getting a different result, that they actually have support. So I think it's important to showcase women that are being successful in the world, because if we know that there are role models out there, it's much easier to say, yes, I could actually do this, because look, this person's doing it and this person's doing it. And inspiring other women is part of what I do on the Words, Women and Wisdom radio show that I launched last summer. So that's all about inspiring stories, and you participated on one of my shows just recently. It's all about inspiring stories to showcase that when you have a tragedy or some sort of chaos going on in your life, you can, in fact, rise through that. And when you come out the other side, you're probably at a higher level than you ever dreamed possible, because you've learned a lot along the way about how to manage your resilience. Yeah. And if you see role models out there that are doing something that you want to do, it just makes it so much more believable.
That's one of the things that I love about doing these interviews, because we hear the most incredible stories on these interviews of things that other women have been through. And I'm blessed that my life has not been so difficult. There have been bumps along the way, but you know, when I hear other women's stories, I'm just so inspired by what they've been able to get through and what they've taken from it. So, you know, I think that's a really important part for women to understand, is that if somebody looks successful to you, it doesn't mean that their road has been smooth. It probably means that it's been pretty bumpy along the way, and that they've learned a lot from all of those experiences.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested just to talk a little bit about words, as we're using lots of words. I know that
Mhm.
words is a part of this whole picture that's really important to you. What is it about the words that we use, particularly as women?
Well, I think there's two things. One is that how we express ourselves is indicative of how we feel about ourselves and our self-esteem and our confidence level. However, once we're aware of what it is that we're showcasing to the world, is that we do have the opportunity to make a shift when we're aware. So first point of change is awareness. An example would be, think about how many times you've listened to women talking and they say sorry. Oh, sorry. Oh, I didn't mean this. Sorry. Well, you just diluted your whole power by making that apology over and over and all the time. Same thing with the word but. You know, I want to do, but it just diluted the power of the sentence. So just remove it. Don't even have it in there. I had a conversation with actually another coach that was doing some informal research, listening to a group of entrepreneurs. One was part was women and part were men, and listening to for how many times they actually shared in their business description and said sorry, or said perhaps, or said but. And for women, it was actually 5 to 7 times more than it was for men. And create doubt in our mind about whether or not we're capable, whether we can come to the table with a clear idea that can be articulated in front of our male counterparts, because they don't like as many touchy-feely words generally, and show up confidently.
Yeah, and since I've been working a lot more with people in America and Canada, I've started to kind of up my game with some of the words that I use. So, you know, the British thing, how are you? And people go, oh, I'm okay. Well, I'm good. And I tend to say now, I'm great, thanks. And, you know, I've kind of upgraded the words that I use. Instead of saying, well, have a good day, I say, have a great day. Have an amazing day. And it's not over the top. We're just kind of increasing the energy a bit. And
yeah, well, very often with my clients, we actually practice, you know, what's a statement that sounds like you, but has this intention? And it's got to sound like them in their language. It's got to be authentic. Otherwise, it won't come across and be resonating. And
yeah, the language has got to be appropriate. Otherwise, the people listening will back off on you. But the other thing I say to women is that if somebody gives you a compliment, don't just go, oh, you know, if somebody gives you a compliment, they've given you a gift, they've wrapped it up in paper, they've put a bow on it, they've given it to you, you look nice today, oh, not this old thing. You know, you've taken away the pleasure of the gift that they gave you. It's so important if somebody says something nice to you, you say, thank you, that's really nice of you. And perhaps there's a compliment you can give back, but never throw the gift back in their face by going, oh, no, I don't, I look terrible today. You've just taken all the fun out of that conversation, and it's really important to own the gift that's been given to you.
yeah, well, when I did the research for my book, I interviewed a number of influential and confident women, first of all. So I garnered their nuggets. And then I was thinking about, you know, my daily meditation practice. You know, what are the words that I want to feature in the book? And originally I thought, well, I'll do 52. I'll do one for every week of the year. But then it started to be such a long book. I thought, well, I better actually put out the pieces on leadership and save that for another book, which I'm now writing. So there's 40 words and word concepts in the book. Some of them are simple things like but, perhaps, sorry. Should is another one, you know, has this whole energy of obligation instead of could, which is an energy of possibility. But I also dig into some other concepts, things like appreciative inquiry. So for example, if a business owner is going into a sales meeting or a new client, potential client meeting, very often they're taught in antiquated sales techniques to ask, you know, tell me about your biggest challenge. Tell me about, you know, what's really not working for you. And you literally see the energy drain right out of the person in front of you because they've got to talk about this horrible thing that they created by making a bad decision 6 months ago, and now you're putting the spotlight on it. Whereas if we use appreciative inquiry, which is David Cooperrider's original work, it's a concept where we start with a positive energy. So instead, it's what's working really well in your business, and they share what's working well, all proudly with their head held high and excitement in their voice. How could it be even better is the next question. And then they share what's coming down the future path for them, what they would like to be doing, how they're wanting to expand. And it's a much easier conversation than to say, can I share a little bit about what I do? And let's see how these things might dovetail together so I could actually help you get to where you want to go faster or more effectively or more cost effectively.
Yeah.
And you never get any objections coming back, which you do with a typical sales model, because there's nothing to object to. You're creating a future collaborative possibility.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great tip. So what does success mean to you now?
Well, success is about having my own choices. So whether I'm choosing to work, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, on the weekend, maybe not on the weekend, it's about having what balance feels like for me. So if I have a lot of clients on my plate at once that are all high energy clients that have a really strong sense of urgency, that is not success for me. Success for me is when I feel that I'm managing my calendar effectively, I'm choosing the clients I want to work with, that they have an energy of reciprocity, they come with respectful conversations, they manage their time as well. And it's about having collaborative conversations. So if I'm having collaborative conversations, I can walk away asking at the end of the call, did you find that valuable? What's one word to sum up what you're taking away from the call? And I hear consistently, oh, I feel inspired, I feel relieved, I feel exhilarated, I'm excited. Then that is success for me.
Yeah, fantastic. And if you had 1 or 2 top tips for new entrepreneurs, what would they be?
Well, I do actually have a program on this called the Flourish Program. And the first piece of it is to get really, really clear on what the business actually is. So what is the transformation that you're going to take people through? Where's the beginning and where's the end? And what are the skills that you uniquely bring to the table that means they can only get this solution from you? So it's a combination of exploring your values, your skill set, what you've done in the past, your experience, what proof and evidence you have that you are the person to go to, and understanding in their language what it is that they're trying to solve. And so you will be able to have easy sales conversations because it won't be a sale. All you're doing is passionately explaining what it is that you do. And if that's something that will help them reach their end goal, great. But there's no objections.
That I heard an American coach say that the only people who like change are babies in dirty nappies. So viewers watching, how can they find out more about you and how they can work with you?
Well, they can work with me in a few different ways. Have a variety of different talks that I'm doing this year, a lot of which are around more confident conversations, more confident cultures at work that women can start building out to have those confident conversations be received well at work. So they can look at the speaker tab for that on my website, which is wordswomenandwisdom.com. They can also reach out to me. There's a contact page. So if you're intrigued to do one of those visualization exercises, I usually have a few 45-minute complimentary visioning exercises that are available through my calendar, so you can schedule one of those. And if you're curious about the work I'm doing inside organizations to shift that culture, which is kind of going back to my HR roots a little bit, then again, reach out through the contact page and I'd be happy to have a conversation and figure out, what it is that really is the missing piece in your organization for you to really have a strong female leadership pipeline.
And can they find your book there?
There is actually a video on the front page that talks about the book. and it has a link to the Amazon page as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Yvonne. This has been great. So what have we learned today? Well, we've learned that, as always, the entrepreneurial journey is not a straightforward one, and that the words that you're using have a lot of power, and you have to reflect on whether the words that you're using are really conveying who you authentically are. And that success can be about having options about how and when you work and the sort of work that you do. So thank you very much, Yvonne, for everything, all the wisdom that you've shared with us.
Thank you, Pat. I appreciate the opportunity to share.
Excellent. So to all of our viewers, thank you for watching. Keep watching out for more of these wonderful interviews with amazing entrepreneurs. I'll see you next time.